Hello dear students of class 10th, welcome to geography class. I hope all of you are doing well. Students, in this video I shall be continuing with the 5th chapter of geography, that is minerals and energy resources. Students, in the previous video I explained you about the hazards of mining, that means the negative effects of mining. And I explained you that concept with the help of two dimensions. The first was impact on miners and the second was impact on the environment. That means not only to the environment but also it is very hazardous to the miners. That means the people who work in the mines. Right. So I hope that topic is clear to everybody. Now students, let me come to a new topic. So the topic for now is conservation of minerals. Students, we need to conserve minerals. Now why we need to conserve minerals? Minerals are limited or unlimited? Minerals are limited. So that is why we need to conserve them. We need to use the minerals judiciously. Why? Because we have multiple needs, and since minerals are limited and we have multiple needs, minerals are used for several purposes, so we must use minerals judiciously without wastage. See, minerals are used in almost all the activities. That means from the pen we use to the car, bus, motorcycle, everything, the machines, they all require minerals. So that means we are greatly dependent on minerals. We are highly dependent on minerals, but minerals are not in abundance, means even though they are there in our country, but they are limited, they are not unlimited. So we need to use them judiciously and properly. Okay, we are greatly dependent on the minerals. The industries operate because of minerals. If minerals will not be there, then it will not be possible for the industries, it will not be possible for the machines to work in a proper manner. So that is why it is very important to conserve the minerals and use them judiciously. Okay? Now students, if I talk about the availability of minerals, then let me tell you that only 1% of the total Earth's crust is minerals. Only one means the out of the total Earth's crust, only 1% of it contains minerals. The rest is soil. So we have so less, but our needs, our demands, they are so high, they are more. So that is why we need to understand how to balance our needs and conserve it and use it efficiently. So I hope you understood the first point, that is minerals are limited and demands are or needs are unlimited. So we need to use them judiciously. Now students, let's come to the next dimension. The next dimension or the next point is replenishment and mineral formation is very slow. Now what do you understand by replenishment? Replenishment means restoration, that means to form again. So students, the formation of minerals, that means the time taken to form minerals is very slow. It is not there that in one day or in a week or in 1 year minerals are formed. It takes millions of years to form minerals. If I talk about coal, then coal takes minerals of years to form. So the rate of formation, that is very slow. See, the rate of formation is very slow than the rate of consumption. The rate of consumption is very high. It is very high, but the rate of formation is very slow. And due to the continuous extraction Yet, due to the continuous extraction, it leads to the decrease in quality of minerals. See, it takes millions of years to form minerals, but if you take them out before time, then definitely the quality will not be the same. The quality will be reduced, right? Since we are continuously doing the mining activity, mining work, continuously we want to take out more and more minerals, we are extracting more and more minerals in order to fulfill our needs, right, in order to make ourselves more prosperous. But in reality this is not so, right, because the rate of formation is very slow and the rate of consumption is very high. Okay. Therefore minerals are finite. That means they are limited, they are not infinite, they are not unlimited. So the minerals are finite and non-renewable. That means it takes millions of years to form minerals. Okay, and because of continuous extraction, it is leading to increase in cost as well as decrease in quality. The quality is decreasing and the cost of minerals is increasing. Okay, so why the quality is decreasing and the cost is increasing? Because if quality will be, because they are limited and we are extracting more and more, right, because it takes millions of years to form. So if we are taking out before time, first the quality will be reduced and also the price will be high, because the miners will have to dig more in order to extract minerals, which will require more fuel, more energy, more work, everything. So automatically the price will rise. So I hope you understood that why it is so important to conserve minerals. Okay, so students, steps must be taken to conserve the minerals. Now what steps can be taken to conserve the minerals? See, first of all, improved technology should be there. The technology should be equipped with better machines. That means the machines should be better, the technology should be better, improved technology should be used. Then there should be recycling of metals. The metals should be recycled. This is one solution, right, to conserve the minerals. For example, if a copper vase is broken, then or a copper utensil is broken, then that should not be thrown, that should be reused. So there should be a recycling of metals. Also there should be alternatives, like not only using aluminium or copper utensils, means people should shift to the earthen pots or the utensils made up of mud. Okay, so these are some alternatives in order to conserve, in order to save the minerals from degradation, in the to save the minerals with regard to right. So these are the steps that should be taken in order to conserve the minerals. So I hope that this topic is clear to everybody, that why we need to conserve and what are the steps that are needed to conserve the minerals. Students, now let's come to the next topic. Our next topic is energy resources. See, now I am moving to the next part of this chapter. The name of the chapter is Minerals and Energy Resources. I explained you about all the minerals. Now I'll be coming to the energy resources. Now, what is the need? Why energy resources are necessary? See, energy is very important. Why? Because energy is required for all the activities that we perform. So energy is required to do all the activities. That means energy is required to cook, to provide light, to provide heat, to run the vehicles, to drive the machines in the form of fuel. If fuel will be given to the machine, then only that machine will run. For example, if I talk about generator, if fuel will be provided, then only it will run. Without fuel, can it run? No, it's not possible to run. So that is why energy is very important. We need energy. If you are able to watch this video, then you are able to watch this video with the help of with the help of energy. If electricity will not be there, can you watch this video? If you are watching this video on your cell phone, on your laptop, or in your class, you are able to watch because you have charged your cell phone, you have charged your laptop, you have a smart board that in which electricity is supplied. So electricity is required to perform all the activities. Okay, so the examples of energy resources are coal, petroleum, natural gas, uranium, and electricity, etc. So these are the examples of energy resources. I hope it is clear that why energy resources are important. Okay. Now students, I will be explaining you the classification of energy resources. See, as you can see here, energy resources are classified into two groups. The first is called conventional sources and the second one is called, cut that line. The first one is called conventional source and the second one is called non-conventional source. So I am going to explain you about conventional and non-conventional source of energy. So students, let's start with the first one, that is conventional source of energy. Now what is this conventional source of energy? Conventional source means when we cannot reuse a source of energy after once we have. Conventional source means when we cannot reuse a source of energy after using it once. For example, once we have used that source of energy, but we cannot use that source again in order to do any activity. For example, if I talk about coal, after using coal once, can you use it again? No, you cannot use it again because it will be burnt, it will be converted into ash. So you cannot use that coal again. If I talk about petroleum, can you use petroleum again after using it once? No, you cannot use. So conventional source means the non-renewable energy resources. The non-renewable sources of energy, they are called as the conventional source. That means once if you have used a source of energy, then you cannot use it again. Okay, it is called as non-renewable energy resource. And the examples of conventional source are coal, petroleum, natural gas, firewood, cattle dung cake, electricity, etc. So these are the examples of conventional source of energy. Now students, let's come to the next classification, that is non-conventional source. Now what do you understand by non-conventional source? See, it is just the opposite of conventional source. Okay, the energy generated by using wind, solar, hydro, tides, geothermal heat and biomass is called as non-conventional source of energy. And let me tell you that they are renewable sources and they do not cause damage to the environment. And these sources of energy, they can be used again and again. That means they can be reused and they do not cause damage to the environment. They do not pollute the environment. They do not cause environmental pollution. So I hope you understood the difference between conventional and non-conventional. In conventional, the energy resource cannot be used again, and in non-conventional, the energy resource can be used again and again. Conventional is a non-renewable source of energy, and non-conventional source refers to the renewable source of energy. Okay, in conventional source, the environment gets polluted, and in non-conventional source, there is no damage or harm caused to the environment. So I hope the difference between conventional and non-conventional source is clear to everybody. Now students, let's start with conventional sources, in which I will explain you about coal. I will explain in detail regarding coal. So students, let's start with coal. See, coal is a conventional source of energy. That means coal cannot be used again. If I have used coal once, if I have burnt coal, then that coal cannot be used again. So it is a non-renewable source of energy. Now students, let me tell you the factors on which the formation of coal depends. As you can see that there are three factors on which the formation of coal depends. The first factor is degree of compression, the second factor is depth, and the third factor is time of burial. Okay? Now I'll explain you the first one, that is degree of compression. See, degree of compression means what is the compression of soil or landform under which the coal is there. Means suppose this is the land, then what, and here coal is there, then what is the compression of land? So this is the first factor. Second is depth, that means how much deep coal is there inside the earth's crust. And the third one is time of burial, that means when the dead plants submerged in swamp environment, means what is the duration, what is the time when the dead plants got submerged in the swamp environment. So these are the factors on which the formation of coal depends. Okay, I explained you the factors on which formation depends. Now let me tell you, now let me explain you that how coal is formed. Now students, coal is formed when the dead plant matter is submerged in swamp environment. And it decays into peat. See, first of all, what happens? The dead plants, they are submerged in swamp environment. That means they are submerged in the they are submerged on the soil or the land, the land mass. There the dead plants get submerged, and then those plants get decayed. No. See, when that I'm saying it from beginning. See, when the dead plant matter is submerged in swamp environment, then it decays into peat. So what is the first step? The first step is the dead plants, they get submerged in the swamp environment. That means in the mud, in the landform, they get submerged, and then what happens? They decay into peat. Now what is the meaning of peat? Students, peat means peat is a soft organic material consisting of partly decayed plant and mineral matter. That means when the plants, they are not fully decayed but they are partially decayed. So that means peat. So when the dead plants are decayed but not fully, partially, that means they are converted into peat. And when peat is placed under high pressure and heat, when there is extreme pressure and heat that is applied on peat, then it undergoes physical and chemical changes to become coal, and it takes millions of years in the formation of coal. So I hope you understood that the dead plants, they get, first of all, the dead plants get submerged in the environment, that means in the swamp environment, and they decay into peat. That means they are not fully decayed, they are partially decayed, and then that peat is placed under high pressure and heat, and then it undergoes physical and chemical changes to become coal, and it takes millions of years to form coal. So I hope that the formation as well as the factors on which the formation of coal depends is clear to everybody. Students, in the next video I shall explain you about the categories of coal. That means in the next topic, students, I will explain you that on the basis of quality, the division of coal. That means coal is Now students, in the next class I will be explaining you about the division of coal on the basis of quality. Till then, thank you so much and be safe.